down the lane, turned it over.
They only gave up 75 in the first half.
Help your child thrive in school and in life.
I know.
Understood.org, because understanding is everything. Brought to you by Understood.org and the Ad Council.
We'll talk lunch afterwards, I guess.
A nonpartisan analysis of the House
we got to find some
Republican
place
tax
that you
bill
can drive
says
to
it would
or
only
walk
be a
to.
tax cut for the majority of taxpayers
get in the car
for the
drive.
first few years. At the end of 10 years, it would actually be a tax increase for about 20%, and the tax savings for the majority would be less than $100.
Should never
The
invited
Joint
him.
Committee on Taxation says in the bill's first
nice.
year, 60%
I know, he
of
walked in and I said,
taxpayers
oh, I
would
didn't know
pay
he
lower
knew.
taxes. But in 2022, some of those tax breaks start expiring, and by 2027, they would essentially dry up for all but a majority of million-dollar-plus households, and even a third of them would have higher taxes. A warning about a new Netflix email scam, Sharon Reed reports.
The emails that began surfacing Friday look like they're from Netflix. They're described as relatively well-designed.
On G-A-U-G-H-N.
To update their billing
marked
information
on. Okay.
or risk having their Netflix membership suspended. The email provides a link that takes subscribers to a fake website. Once there, the streaming service's customers are asked to log in and provide information.
To check your Netflix account, just type the address directly into your browser. Never use the email link. What? You're not out Christmas shopping yet?
54% of people are planning to shop before Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and 25% of people are planning to start right around now.
We'll do the mid-season stuff last like 2 segments.
Sarah Skirball with RetailMeNot.com. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is off Forbes magazine's billionaires list. Forbes says Ross is really only worth $700 million, not $3.7 billion as he claimed. In a new scathing analysis, Forbes says Ross flat out lied when he told the magazine he had billions stashed away in a private trust. It says after digging, it has concluded that that money never existed, that it was just the latest in, quote, an apparent sequence of fibs, exaggerations.
I thought we have kind of, well, I don't know if we did it then, but I know we've been
told Forbes since 2004 to both add his ego and gain
doing stuff on, but I don't know if we did that.
Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
If you've fallen behind on your taxes, you know that the IRS is already coming for their money, and they'll get it too by garnishing your wages or maybe even taking your home or business. They call it enforced compliance, and you'd better watch out because the penalties and interest compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. You need to call the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Solving tax issues is all they do. One call to Optima starts the process to stop the demand letters and stop aggressive collection actions.
Crucial for this team to get it done early in the season. They can't afford to fall into a hole. They have not fallen into that hole. And look, after 11 games, they're above 500. And I think if you'd ask Pelicans fans across the city, would you be happy at 6-5 through 11 games? I think fans would be happy because they probably feel like as they play together, they'll improve and kind of gel. And there's going to be another process when Rondo comes back to play for the first time in a Pelicans uniform in a regular season game. And yet still, I think, like I said, if you ask fans around town, would you be happy at 6-5 after 11 games? I think the majority of them would say yes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing I would say that is encouraging about this iteration of the Pelicans is it looks like Davis and Cousins are figuring it out, how to play together. If nothing else, DeMarcus Cousins, his addition into the lineup has forced teams into all kinds of matchup problems, and it was certainly the case last night. The fact that the Pacers did not have Sabonis to play inside really caused problems for them because they only had Miles Turner, and he was having to pick between the two, and TJ Leaf was getting abused in there. So that was a problem. And it's going to be a problem for most teams all year long.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday in the show, that would be a big subtraction for the Pacers that night. And look, the Pelicans, obviously, you look at the beginning of the game, and they did not play defense. And all of a sudden, the second half comes, and let's see, they gave up 37 points in the first quarter, 38 in the second quarter. They gave up 37 points the rest of the game.
Right, that was the difference.
It's amazing.
They locked them down defensively, did a really good job, challenged shots at the rim, and started working the two-man game with Cousins and Davis. And it was all about defense, though. And, I mean, this game was up for grabs going in the last 3 or 4 minutes, and they executed better. I mean, they rebounded 2 missed free throws by Drew Holiday in the last 20 seconds of the game. That was the difference. I mean, Drew Holiday had a chance to put the game away at the line, and he missed one twice in a row. The second one each time, which is the one you want to miss. And one time Anthony Davis got the rebound. The second time DeMarcus Cousins tipped it in off of a Pacers arm. Somehow it went in. So that was the game. And look, the Pacers, they're a quality team, but they're nothing. They would be struggling to make the playoffs in the West. So
they'll probably make the playoffs in the East.
Yeah, maybe. But they're shaky. But nevertheless, it was a win that they probably wouldn't have gotten last year.
No, I agree. Anthony Davis 37 points, DeMarcus Cousins 32 points, and your boy Boogie only 2 turnovers and went 40% from three-point land.
I think that's low on the turnovers statistically.
It's staring right in front of me. Only 2.
Yeah, I think that's low.
You think so?
No, I know so, yeah.
The official box score is low?
They missed a couple turnovers
The official box score is low?
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess then Boogie must have went 8 of 10 from three-point range, right?
Look at the difference in efficiency between Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. Just look at the difference.
Look, there's obviously a difference.
Let's talk
in
about
the stats.
that.
Okay. 14 of 18 from Anthony Davis. He was 4 of 5 from three-point land. Boogie 12 of 25. He was 4 of 10 from three-point land. Davis with 14 boards, Cousins with 13 boards. Like, if both of them are going like that, look, let's see, one shot the doors off, 75, 80, 78% from the
Anthony Davis
field.
was remarkable last night.
Right.
They won the game because he's one of the best players on the planet, and Indiana had nobody to match up with him. Now, they could have tried Miles Turner on him, but I don't think he would have had any more success. Instead, they had Thaddeus Young, and Anthony Davis had a good 3 inches on him, and he would just turn around and shoot that fadeaway, and that's not an easy shot, and he was burying it every time. It's a shot I think the Pacers were willing to give Anthony Davis, and he was hitting it. And so then what do you do if you're trying to guard him? And that's where Cousins comes into play, because he's forcing other teams into matchup issues on Anthony Davis. My problem with Cousins has always been he just makes so many negative plays. Everyone talks about the positive plays, which he does. He has a look at the numbers and at the box score, but he also has a lot of negative plays, and he also gives up a lot on defense that doesn't show up in the box score. I prefer a player like Anthony Davis that makes more positive plays and very few negative plays.
Well, you pair them together, and it's a tough out
right.
for a team. So I think that's what you got going. And I think Cousins can have some incredible games, and he doesn't make mistakes. And yet, look, if you have Anthony Davis, Cousins can afford to make a couple of mistakes, and Anthony Davis can pick up the slack. But can I just I'm looking at the other $25 million man per year, 10 points. That's 5 assists, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and he misses.
No, he didn't play well.
Some
last
key
night.
free throws. How many times have you said this year that he has played well?
Yeah, he's had some good games. The game I covered against the Cavs, the crescendo moment in the season.
Everybody played great that game.
That's what I'm saying. And people were all talking in the locker room afterwards. It was kind of revolting, to be honest with you. People asking questions in our business. Well, if Etuan Moore and Drew Holiday play this way every night, what is this the potential of this team? Well, they're not going to play that way every night.
Etuan Moore is not going to play that way every night. Not even close.
No, they're not going to play that way. That's just a pie in the sky,
But Drew Holiday, I expect him to be more. Every time we talk about him, why?
I don't think you can look at the contract number he got, because the Pelicans were backed into a corner and had to give him that contract, and that's because of the situation they were in, because of the roster, and they kind of were in a situation that if they didn't get him, what were they going to do? They had to give him a max contract. So I don't think you can just continually bring up how much money he's making, because they know they overpaid for him, just like they overpaid for Solo Hill, and they're stuck. But whose fault is that? That's Dell Demps getting them into this position to where we have to do this.
Well, I think by me complaining about Drew brings up the inherent complaint about having to get stuck with this contract. So I think anytime I complain about that, in a byproduct, I'm complaining about the Dell Demps thing every time.
DJ NOLA East.
And here's my point about Cousins. He's a tremendous talent. I mean, he's remarkable inside presence. But the mistakes he makes are going to be what exposes this team when they play good teams in the playoffs, maybe, or making their run to the playoffs. Those mistakes will be magnified against good teams. They're getting away with it right now, but I'm just telling you, you watch.
I'll keep watching. Because now they're above 500, man. It's party time USA. There should be a parade. Where they should have Endymion floats. Look, Saints and Pelicans should be going up and down Canal Street right here. Come on. Let's do it.
That's a low bar there.
My bar has been set very low for both teams, but now the Saints are sky high, and the Pelicans, again, they're both above 500 for the first time together since December 13th, 2013. Jeff, let humanity in this city have this moment. Let's hit the phone lines real quick.
I'm happy for everybody.
Good. All right, let's hit the phone lines real quick, and then we'll take a break. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. DJ NOLA East. DJ, thanks for calling the show. What you got?
Hey, Larry. I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. You know, Drew Holiday is a guy that, you know, should be 18 to 22 points a night, because that's what we're going to need if this team is going to continue to be successful. I believe that and more, man, you know, up and down isn't the word for this guy. You know, and I think he does better coming off the bench. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how well he does when, our other guard comes back.
Yeah, when Rondo comes back, you won't be seeing as much of Moore. He will be coming off the bench.
I think he'll be better coming off the bench.
I would agree there.
As I said, I just think, man, that you know, the guy's just not a starter. I mean, I just think, you know, when he was with Chicago, he came off the bench and did well, and I think that's probably his position here. But, you know, you're talking about Cousins. I think as time goes on, you know, I believe that he's going to be more careful with the ball, because when Rondo comes, he's not going to have it as much. And so, you know, I just believe that things are looking up. And as you're saying, man, to be over 500, you know, after 1-9 and 1-11 starts the last couple of years, I think it's a plus that, you know, the team is over 500 and has a chance to at least be in the mix, you know, as time goes on. So anyway, I'll listen to your comments. Thanks.
Hi, DJ. Appreciate the call. DJ always comes with the insightful calls. Every day, all the time. That's why any time he calls, I'm like, let's get him in.
Yeah, he's reasoned and has a really good insight.
Sometimes I'm not reasoned. Sometimes he's got to calm me down. But look, Jeff, before we take a break right here, look at the bench, though. Look, Darius Miller played well coming off the bench, 12 points.
He did play well.
Absolutely.
He's given them a nice boost.
That's because he went to Kentucky.
Yeah, well, at the small forward position. He almost went to Louisville. He would have been probably a better player if he'd gone to Louisville, but he's turned out to be all right.
He might have seen more playing time if he went to Louisville. He was stuck behind all the...
Well, no, he played a key role in their national title run.
He was like their sixth man, right?
I don't know. I can't remember. I just know he was a veteran guy, and they had a bunch of freshmen, including AD at the time, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and Darius Miller was one of the few upperclassmen that Coach Cal's ever had there.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's contributing well. He's small at the small forward spot where they need some scoring off the bench. He's been a nice little find.
Yeah, and Jameer Nelson, 29 minutes, 10 points, like, you know, +4 in the plus-minus. So, like, you got some production off the bench. And as we get moving forward, I think you're going to be seeing when Etuan Moore comes off the bench, I think he'll be more comfortable there. And
DJ made a good point.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be starting, and that's exactly right. He's a perfect bench player to come in. He's a versatile player, but he's probably not what you're looking for in the starting lineup.
I would agree. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. We'll have a couple of open segments. We will have around 10:30. Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. We'll talk about the Buffalo Bills. Of course, the Saints will be taking on the Bills in Buffalo on Sunday. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll talk more Pelicans. Will Guillory at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. 11:20, we will hear from Alvin Gentry, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, their thoughts on the game. And then around 11:30, it is Saints mid-season awards time. We've got all the categories. My awards are already posted on NOLA.com this morning. And we will go through my thoughts, and Jeff will bring the zingers. I don't even know where he's going. Like, I just said, Jeff, do some homework, and he's told me nothing, so it's going to be a big surprise. So we got a jammed-up show here today, so come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Get silly. Get silly. Get silly.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword LOCK. to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus
I like your
iHeartRadio
best
info.
play of the year.
Standard
That's a
data
good
and
one.
message rates apply.
Yeah, it was like,
That's
you could do all the
to
flashy
200.
plays, but I'm like, let's see, did the play where you got to make the turnaround.
Yeah, and that kind of was a big one.
Yeah, because you were just, I remember seeing it, we were just like, whoa.
Wasn't too keen
Right.
on the
Like they could actually do
I'm
that?
not going to sit here and say, man, I'm sold on him now, but I love
Yeah, I wanted to be
him
kind of
keeping it
sneaky on that
together.
one.
Sports.
God, that's a great
1280,
photo.
New Orleans.
I know, just found it.
See how
grunge.
violent these guys. Look at that. He's getting killed.
Thousands of people
And he's
signing
able to
an
still
online
bat
petition
the ball
calling
away
for
from
comment
Stafford.
after Kevin
Yeah.
James to replace Kevin Spacey on House of Cards.
He'd
Netflix
probably like
has
that
dropped
photo.
Spacey
You know, that'd be
from
a
his
cool
starring
photo if I
role
were
in a
him.
growing
Yeah.
scandal about his alleged sexual harassment of other actors. A man in the Netherlands
And,
launching
oh,
a Change.org
poor AP.
petition
He's only getting swallowed
putting
by
up
10
the King
guys.
of Queens star to take over
Yeah,
as
somebody asked me
two-time
today. I
Oscar
need to
winner
pass along to
Spacey's
Josh.
ruthless Frank Underwood character.
We need to get the terms of that trade because
The ACLU
Like, what's
said
the
the
conditions?
going up.
Yeah, what are the conditions?
Northern
Playing time or if
California
it's
office blasting
production?
the pop
I mean, he
star's
could
threat
definitely
to
look
sue
like
a
he's
blogger
producing.
for painting
Right.
Swift as an icon
Right.
to the alt-right and white nationalists,
I
accusing
figure
her of
this
trying to
segment we
suppress
could do the
protected
college
speech.
football
A lawyer for
rankings. I
Swift
haven't even
called
looked
the
at 'em.
claims baseless and said the
Have they
singer
changed
top
rejects
five?
white supremacy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ozzy Osbourne hitting the road for a farewell tour. The 68-year-old singer's last tour is set to begin
Maybe I
next
don't
year
wanna
and
do
end
that.
in 2020. Osbourne in a statement
up?
says he
I was like,
may
maybe I don't wanna
play
do that if
shows
they're the
here and
same
there
top
once
five,
it's
but-
all over.
Yeah. We'll kill some
Kim
time with it.
Kardashian and Kanye West are receiving a hefty profit after selling their Bel Air mansion. TMZ saying the couple sold the property for nearly $18 million after buying it for only $9 million in 2013. The sale reportedly the most expensive in the Bel Air Crest community. That's entertainment. Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio.
Atlantis, where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
30 seconds.
Rates at 1-800-Atlantis or AtlantisBahamas.com.
Gary LaVox here from Rascal Flats. Seems like there's never enough time to get done what you have to. It's easy to get wrapped up in work and the busyness of life. But sometimes the people you care about most get the least of your time. As you chase your dreams, don't forget the people that mean the most to you. Your friends, family, kids, or spouse. They need you. It's a good reminder for me, and I hope for you too. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
College football playoff rankings came out last night, and predictably, LSU slipped. But, I mean, did anyone really expect them to beat Alabama? No, and they played a closer game, even though I've been on my high horse saying, wow, everyone's got the purple and gold pom-poms out. Yay, they lost by 14, hip, hip, hooray. But in actuality, should they have dropped 5 spots? I don't know. They're not going to be in the conversation with that. But they did drop 5 spots to 24 in the college football playoff rankings released yesterday. And the top 4 remain the same. Georgia 1, Bama 2, Notre Dame 3, Clemson 4, Oklahoma's 5, TCU is 6. They play this weekend. That is going to be a game I'm going to certainly want to pay attention to.
Good games this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Miami's 7, Wisconsin is 8, Washington 9, Auburn is 10th. And the only other SEC team in the top 25, other than the 3 in the top 10 and LSU, is Mississippi State at number 18. And so, look, there's going to be some jostling there through the next several weeks. But, yeah, like I said, here is basically an elimination game. Oklahoma and TCU, that's an eliminator. Notre Dame and Miami is going to be an eliminator, and they don't play this weekend, right? Or maybe they do. I don't know.
No, I think it's 2 weeks.
A couple weeks, okay.
2 weeks away. Notre Dame's got a pretty tough schedule, but they always play a tough schedule. And you can make an argument right now that their one loss was against Georgia in the final minutes, that's the best loss of any one-loss team that we have in the country right now. But when Georgia and Alabama face each other, assuming they win out, assuming both of them beat Auburn, Georgia plays at Auburn this Saturday, and that's going to be a huge game in the SEC. Auburn actually kind of could control the fate of this playoff in a way. And if they were to win out, Pat Forty, our buddy at Yahoo, he had a point. What if Auburn wins out? What if they beat Georgia and Alabama? They actually could forge their way back into the picture with 2 losses.
You think Auburn can actually forge their way back into the college football playoff?
Yes.
Well, I guess if you beat Alabama and Georgia.
That's what I'm saying. And your only losses were at LSU, where you kind of gave it up, and then they lost at Clemson, and they didn't lose by much there. So they wouldn't be bad losses in the grand scheme of things, and you would have knocked off Georgia and Alabama. I mean, it's possible if everybody else has a loss, probably.
Yeah, it would have to get a little crazy, but no, Notre Dame does play Miami this weekend, Saturday night. So
yeah, look at the schedule. There's some great games.
This is a huge implication weekend for the college football playoff. Like I said, TCU is at Oklahoma, Notre Dame is at Miami, and look, Alabama's at Mississippi State. That's going to be a tough one. Iowa's at Wisconsin. That's going to be a huge game for Wisconsin because they have no prayer to make it if they lose a game, and they might not make it if they win out because their schedule is not as difficult as you would think in the Big Ten. Because who are the teams that they avoid? I think they avoid Ohio State.
Ohio State, yes.
Did they avoid Penn State? I
think they did, yes.
I think they avoided Penn State too. So, well, they have a championship game. So I don't know who they would play in that.
That would be the key. They have to win the championship game.
Right.
But yeah, look, Wisconsin. Dennis Dodd said in the program last week they could back into it, or I should say, sneak into it, and that's certainly playing out right now. And I think this Georgia Auburn game is going to be really interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, and Georgia is at Auburn on 2:30 kick on Saturday. So yeah, this is going to be kind of the let's borrow a master's term. It's going to be moving day where teams are going to jump ahead of the other as we kind of make the final turn here of the college football regular season. And let's go to the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number. Let's go to Brother in Metairie. Brother, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What's up, brother?
How you guys doing this morning?
Man, we good, man. Like I said, it's cloudy, but the Saints are above 500. The Pels are above 500. And it is Wobble Wobble Wednesday, so we're getting down with our mid-'90s New Orleans rap here on the show.
What more could you ask for? Look, I want to say, I know y'all good friends with Ron Higgins, the guy writes for the Picayune.
Sure are. Okay?
And I know you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but he wears the purple and gold shirts and hats and never gets rid of them. I don't know if you saw his article in the paper this morning. He said that Alabama knocked LSU out of national championship possibility. That is insane. This thing 2007, LSU got in with 2 losses on a miracle. This format is altogether different. The committee is not going to put a 2-loss team in who lost to Troy. Okay, that ain't going to happen. So that was crazy. I don't know how he wrote that type of article. Okay, I want y'all's opinion on that. I know y'all friends with him, but I disagree with that totally 100%. Y'all have a great day.
All right, brothers. Angry, spicy, man. It's cloudy, but what? Come on,
brothers,
man.
Spicy meat.
But what? I thought you're supposed to be cheering Alabama only beat LSU by 14. That should be part of the party too. Come on.
I would say this. I think you would agree with me, Larry. Ron Higgins, yes, he's an LSU graduate, but he does not wear purple and gold and is not a cheerleader for the program by any means. I mean, there are people down there that are involved at that school that would tell you that he's a hater. So Ron Higgins is just trying to be honest. Look, if they were to win out, they would be in the mix. There's no doubt.
They would have won at Alabama, and then they would end up beating Georgia. They would have been in the mix. Now, they might not have made – they would have been in the conversation. I think that's what Ron was saying.
They'd be in the mix.
Conversation.
Brother, the loss to Troy gets more than canceled out by the win at Alabama in that scenario.
And then you'd beat Georgia in the SEC title game in their backyard in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, you're in.
Yeah, so
or you're in the mix.
You'd be in the mix. Could they be left out? Sure, but they would be in the mix. They would.
Yeah, they were eliminated though from that now.
They'll slide.
Yeah. All right, we'll take one more phone call and then we'll switch gears to Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News coming up at the back end of this break. So Bill in Slidell. Bill, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What's up, Bill?
Hey, how y'all doing today?
We're good.
Just to show you how the schedules are respective of each team, Saints and Pelicans. They say, well, the Saints got a 6-2 record, but who have they beaten? You know, they beat the Packers, left a quarterback. They beat the Bears with a rookie quarterback, so forth and so on. But it's the game that you got to play, but it's the game on the schedule. They won. Pelicans are the same way. If you look at last night's games, in addition to the Pelicans, who's the worst team in the league? The Mavericks that we beat the other day, 1 win all season. They go into Washington and beat up on the Wizards, which is a much better team than we are. And then you got Sacramento, who beats Oklahoma City. So the Pelicans wins. You say they haven't really beat anybody, but hey, every game is on the schedule. You play it, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So hang up and listen to y'all comments, okay?
Bill, you're my new best friend. Jeff.
I agree to some degree. But what are we talking about with this team? How good are they? That's the key.
I expect them to be a little below 50 wins, 48, 49, 47. I don't know.
I think when I predicted preseason 47 wins, Marcus Carmouche, our sports editor, ridiculed me for being too optimistic.
Then I'm optimistic. Optimistic McGee. Look, I think they're just playing better. Hey, what do you want me to do? So.
Well, I'm not saying they're not playing better. You act like I'm saying they're horrible or something. There's a gray area in the middle.
What's horrible is how you have 20 tabs open on your internet browser. I don't know how your computer doesn't crash every day. I love looking over Jeff's shoulder.
He's always looking at my computer.
I'm creeping to see what he's looking at. But coming up next here, Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Of course, the Saints taking on the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, so we will get an early look at the Bills coming up next here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Gave Marcus a shout out.
Always. Forecast on Sports 1280.
Oh yeah, I brought you up last week when you weren't around.
This report brought to you by Take 5 Oil Change.
Took out last year that I didn't have a good. The Chargers didn't have a good pass rush, and I pointed out.
Hey, how do we say this guy's name?
Mark Gaughan.
Like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
What did I take 50s.
Remember last year when the Saints I did my preseason crystal ball?
Tomorrow's
I said, they're going up to San Diego. Who's going to have a big-time pass rush? You're like, they don't have a good pass rush. I go, they got to have Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram.
So finally, fall-like weather moves in for the end of the weekend.
We didn't know how. He played in that game. My point is,
Weather Authority forecast.
Look at them now. Those two guys are like in the top 5 in the league in sacks.
I think the top 10 teams in sacks, I think there's only one team under 500, and it's the Chargers.
Right.
Yeah, but they're like top 5 sacks.
Like Melvin Ingram's a stud.
Him and Bosa together, they're ridiculous.
Atop this week's college football playoff.
Yeah, it was.
Followed by Bama,
and it was like the same morning when me and David Francis took the elevator. He's like,
you at number 6.
Man, when you guys are on commercial, I cringe because I'm afraid of what you guys are going to do. You might drop something in there that you don't think you're on.
The Suns receive center Greg Monroe.
So I brought that up. I said, David Francis is in the corner.
Honoring the best defensive players in the sport with the Gold Glove Awards. The Rockies, Diamondbacks, Twins, Angels, and Royals all had 2 players that take home a Gold Glove. A sad day across the sport. Former Blue Jay and Philly ace pitcher Roy Halladay killed in a small light sport aircraft.
Somebody's making fun of you.
Oh, no, let's
Petersburg, Florida coast yesterday. Pasco County Sheriff Chris
Who, me? Optimistic McGee?
He was 1 in a million. It is a true loss for us. I have no doubt he is looking down.
We'll win more than that.
His heart was a heart of gold.
The 40-year-old and 8-time All-Star.
Ooh, I just got an email about some Week 10 odds.
Sports, Jake Orwin, NBC News Radio.
He's going crazy over here. Pelicans win a game against the Pacers.
All right, we got Mark.
All right, cool.
O'Reilly. If it's time to...
I dialed the wrong number. My dyslexia attacked me.
Tattooed Santa.
Ultra headlights and
yeah, baby.
that was pretty awesome stuff.
I'm gonna pull some of my old songs and just start playing them randomly in the bump music.
Totally, yes.
Bring it. Store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Put $1,000 in your hand. Win $1,000 every hour, up to 16 times
I'll let you intro him. So if that's not really how you say his name, you
when you
butchered
hear
it.
the keyword, text it to 200-200. Listen all day for a chance to put $1,000 in your hand on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Follow me now, cause I'm a red hot pepper boy.
It's your home. This is where you talk the home teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to Dunc and Holder. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Dave back at the iHeart studios. Breaking out those Wobble Wobble Wednesday jams, of course, bringing me back to my teenage youth here in New Orleans. I know, Jeff, you weren't a New Orleanian back in the mid-'90s, right?
No,
not
got
yet.
here in '99.
Okay.
So I missed that.
But you could bring it back. We're culturing you here.
Well, look, the other day, Alvin Kamara was wearing a Cash Money Records T-shirt after the game, shouting out to one of his buddies that's in Cash Money. And certainly he has embraced New Orleans very quickly. He said he went to Cafe Du Monde this week and ate beignets, and now he's wearing Cash Money. So Alvin Kamara is fitting right in.
Well, that's
New Orleans.
That's because he's about to make some big cash money if he keeps playing that way, and I'm sure the Buffalo Bills are preparing heartily, and yet the model is probably up there for him with LaShawn McCoy.
Yes, no doubt about it. And we want to welcome in, speaking of the Buffalo Bills, good friend of mine, longtime friend, covered the Bills for a long time for the Buffalo News, Mark Gaughan. Mark, what are we looking at this weekend? You and I talked a little bit about it yesterday, and since I'm not making the trip up to Buffalo and my colleague Larry here is going to be coming up, what is his appropriate attire for the game on Sunday?
Well, it's going to be pretty nice, 38 to 40 degrees, 40% chance of rain, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. So not that bad for Buffalo in November.
Pretty nice. I'm used to flip-flops in December. What? Pretty nice. What?
You know, there's wisdom.
We haven't had any snow yet. We're playing with house bunny. This is great.
Mark,
so it's not supposed to snow.
Yeah, well,
but
Mark,
I would definitely, wear your warmest coat, and if you got a scarf, bring that, and a hat for sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, the weather could be a bit of a factor. Usually, so there's a 40% chance of rain. It's not supposed to snow. And wind is usually, rain does not usually affect the game that much, as long as it's not terrible. But wind would be wind could be a factor in this game, particularly on special teams and even with passing a bit.
Mark, you look at the Bills 5-3. Look, from afar, I'm sure Jeff and I would not have figured that the Bills would be 5-3, and playing well. They'd won 4 of 5, and then they go to the Jets and kind of put up a stinker. So, just your overall assessment of this team right now through the midpoint of the season?
They're definitely overachieving. The expectations really went down in preseason when they traded their best receiver, Sammy Watkins, from a receiving core that wasn't that good with Sammy Watkins. So, they are trying to do it with mirrors on offense, have a totally rebuilt defense, and really the defense has been the pleasant surprise. It's Carolina's defense. This is the Carolina defense from start to finish, and they added to their defensive backfield completely new and has been really good. Their 2 safeties who were modest signings in free agency, Micah Hyde from Green Bay and Jordan Poyer from Cleveland. Anytime you get a free agent from Cleveland who wasn't a starter, that doesn't really register on anybody's scale, but they have been sensational, and the Bills are leading the league in takeaways. So the defense, even though the numbers aren't, awesome yardage-wise, but it's a Carolina defense. They play zone. They give up yards. They make you go 75 yards in 13 plays and see if you can do it. So the Raiders, for instance, 2 weeks ago, have a very talented offense, more talent than Buffalo. But the Bills gave up yards, and there's a setback in their zones, but the Raiders couldn't complete drives. Bills got some takeaways, and so that's how the Bills beat a more talented Oakland team. Actually, I think Tampa, if they're fully healthy, is more talented than Buffalo. Obviously, Tampa's got all kinds of problems right now, but On offense, they're squeeze every bit of production they can out of. They've obviously McCoy is the one elite weapon they have, but they don't really have any other elite weapons. And their quarterback is a manage the game, don't make turnovers guy in Tyrod Taylor. The only other new thing this week, obviously, is Kelvin Benjamin will be playing, and he's automatically the best receiver they have.
Talking to Mark Gahn of the Buffalo News, covered the Buffalo Bills for a long time up in Buffalo. Mark, one of the people that our listeners will be interested in hearing about is Tre'Davious White. He's the Bills' first-round draft pick, number 27 overall pick out of LSU. Right now, according to NFL GSIS, the league-wide statistical analysis stat site, he's leading or tied for the league lead in passes defense with 12. He's got 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception. So looks like he's playing at a very high level for the Bills up there as a rookie.
Really is great. Yes, and he fits their scheme. We're probably looking at the 2 all-rookie cornerbacks in Lattimore and Tre'Davious White right now. Obviously, White is not the sort of physical, athletic freak that Lattimore is. I think Lattimore ran a 4.36, and Trey White ran a 4.47. Whatever. But so he's not quite as physically gifted as Lattimore. But they play zone. He's smart. He's a gamer. He plays with aggressiveness and confidence, very unlike a rookie. He shakes bad plays don't seem to stick with him. So he has a great makeup, great attitude. Extremely high character player. Doesn't act like a rookie. He closes. He closes on passes well. He's been a good tackler. He has been a great addition for the Bills.
Mark, Sean McDermott, new head coach, of course, comes from Carolina. So Sean Payton is very familiar with Sean McDermott. And I'm looking at, he's 43. I feel like he's been around as defensive coordinator, I don't know, half his life. It seems like he's been around for so long, and now he's getting a chance to be a head coach. Just kind of assess the job he's done with the Bills. And then secondly, I'm sure he's probably got a good sense of this Saints team, given how many times he's had to game plan against them.
Yeah, he again, as you know, maybe not Jeff so much, because you guys have had the same coach since 2006, but NFL teams tend to want the opposite of what you just had. When your coach fails, you kind of like, okay, you got to get the opposite of we certainly don't want what we had the last guy. Whether it's brash or defense, offense, it's just sort of the way it goes in the NFL. So he's a defensive coach like Rex Ryan, but he is not all talk and bluster like Rex. So the Bills, very tired of Rex Ryan and the underachieving defense. The defense was terrible the last 2 years under Rex. He kind of wanted to force his scheme into make it work come hell or high water, and it didn't. And so McDermott is a very steadying influence, has a really good staff of assistants, and he's got a former head coach in Leslie Frazier as his defensive coordinator. Solid, high character, quality guy. Rick Dennison runs the Denver offense, the Gary Kubiak Denver or Houston offense. Limit turnovers, zone running, play action, bootlegs. So he's got good assistants, and he has been a voice of stability, which the team needed after 2 years of, frankly, a little bit of instability, or a little bit of chaos under Rex.
Mark Gahn of Buffalo News. Mark, you've got a great tweet this week, kind of comparing the quarterback situations between the two franchises. And I just want to read it off because I think Saints fans, we've seen the brilliance of Drew Brees now for over a decade, and it's easy to take for granted sometimes how great a player Drew Brees is. Your tweet, Drew Brees has 108 300-yard games in 17 years. Bills quarterbacks in that same span have 26. In the last 4.4 years, Brees has 41 300-yard games. Bills quarterbacks have 4 total in that time. So that really illustrates what Bills fans have had to endure over the years. Now, do you think that the franchise is completely bought in on Tyrod Taylor, or could they be in the market for a quarterback next year?
Yeah, well, all those stats, that's what you call wandering in the desert without a quarterback. So anybody who, like obviously Drew's playing great, and if his play starts to slip a little, don't be quick to bail on Drew. Believe me, if he wants to play to 45, God bless him, let him play to 45 because the other end of the tunnel is may well not be very good. Tyrod is a game manager. He's got some great athletic gifts. He does try to stay in the pocket, but he's not at a high level, elite level passer from the pocket. Just the way it is. So they're going to be in the market for a quarterback. Absolutely. Of course, so will a whole bunch of teams. So we'll just have to. I would guarantee you they're going to draft a quarterback at some point. Now, will they win too many games? That'll be a nice, be in position to really get one of the better quarterbacks. What is the draft class going to look like? That's all. There's a whole segment of the NFL, not you guys, not the New Orleans fan base, not included, that are, on the edge of their seats watching all these weekly college results with Allen in Wyoming and USC and what did Josh Rosen throw? How many interceptions did he have last week? So you guys are immune to all it. You don't even. Buffalo fans have been paying attention to the weekly college quarterback carousel, years and years. So, New Orleans fans probably don't fully appreciate, the fact they don't have to worry about that or haven't had forever. So, no, the Bills will be getting a quarterback, but will they, if they can have a decent finish, Tyrod conceivably could stay the quarterback for next year. It's up in the air.
Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Of course, the Saints will take on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo on Sunday. I will leave my flip-flops at home. I will go buy a scarf because I don't own one. So, but Mark thinks it's going to be balmy up there. So I'm not going to take his word for it.
Pretty nice. You don't have to go. You don't have to carry a portable shovel. But I would wear, if you have a warm pair of socks, wear some of those. I wouldn't recommend loafers either.
Man, I'm in trouble. Well, I'll try my best to keep it going. So hey, Mark, appreciate the time, appreciate the insight, and good stuff. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. That's Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. So look,
good luck, buddy.
I'm in trouble. I'm used to swimming through the air, balminess.
I picked the right game to miss. We got good weather in Green Bay. It was beautiful. It was a little wet.
You got your London week. I get Buffalo.
Right, and I just booked my trip to L.A. We'll be going together, buddy.
We will be going.
So we will get better weather there, I'm
together.
Sure.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I would think we'd be getting some better weather there. Absolutely. So, we'll talk some more Saints, and then we'll switch gears. 11 o'clock hour, talk some Pelicans. And don't forget, around 11:30, the Saints mid-season award ceremony. I'm ready to see what Jeff has to say. Mine are already public at NOLA.com, the Tom's Picking. So, hey, there you go. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Hey, folks, it's Michael Berry. Do you say Carondelet or Carondelet? Because people, I can't get this straight. Will you help me? From 5:30 to 8, on Tuesday, November 14th.
Is it Carondelet?
Hotel, and I hope you'll come join me. Tuesday,
Burgundy.
November 14th.
God, I forgot which host it was. I think it was on WGSO's station where they had some knucklehead like national guy who was like, I love New Orleans. I especially love to go to the Antiques District. It's like, what the hell is the Antiques District?
We have an Antiques District.
I think he meant like the magazine corridor where they got all those antiquing places or whatever. But it was just so like, yeah, why don't you pretend like you know what the hell you're talking about?
I'm going to go down to that Chaptopolis Street.
Chaptopolis.
Chaptopolis.
Behind the wheel, the autonomous car unit of Google parent company Alphabet.
Still crushes me. There's the street next to mine is
safety drivers in a limited region of Phoenix.
Mercedes Boulevard. That's how it spells. And my wife is convinced, and she says, no, it's Mercedes. Mercedes Boulevard.
Customer service.
She says that's how it's pronounced. Mercedes. Mercedes. I'm like, Mercedes. Mercedes. It drives me nuts.
Well, I know they got those crazy, streets like Terpsichore and all that stuff where it's like the fates from Greek mythology and stuff.
Well, you got Calliope versus Calliope. What's the name of that street?
Right.
8,000 people have already volunteered, but you need to be invited to volunteer. Apple will now let you test out.
Yeah, I'm leading first and 10 with the special teams
payments
woes.
allows you to send and receive cash.
The weather is not going to help them on special teams.
To be a part of the test,
that's the kind of thing Peyton loves to talk about too. We need to get him on the conference call.
Tech Report. Larry Olson.
He loves to talk about
radio.
Elements so he can break it all down.
Drunk driving supports victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no charge. Call our 24-hour victim.
Here's my advice for Peyton.
877
just let every punt just float by. Wherever it lands, it lands.
NATD.org.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280.
I took a walk to the Melpomene. I hung down in a Calliope.
See? Exactly what I was talking about. Calliope or Calliope. See? Just popped right up right
Calliope,
here.
baby. That Melpomene, bro.
Right, Melpomene, and I don't know. I mispronounce the streets. I've lived here forever. I mispronounce the damn streets sometimes.
I think it's look, I grew up in Kentucky where they have a Versailles, Kentucky.
Oh,
I like that.
No, that's like
Versailles.
That's like in Soho and in Manhattan. It's clearly Houston Street, and everyone there calls it Houston. I'm like, what is the matter with you people?
Soho. They don't call it Soho.
Right? Soho. No. Soho. Houston. Anyway, we digress. But look, Justin Hardy, undrafted rookie, earns Special Teams Player of the Week, rightfully so. And, he was certainly fired up after the game. And it was a perfectly timed story time for our own Herbie Teope to catch up with Justin Hardy. He told his great story. If you go look back on NOLA.com, go check it out. Herbie basically called the shot for him. And I think in the locker room, Justin Hardy said, told Herbie, hey, you're going to come to me on Sunday because I'm going to make a huge play. So Justin basically called his own shot and got it done.
Yeah, and I'm sure Hacksaw Herbie Teope is the happiest guy in town because he he illuminated what a under-the-radar signing this Hardy was. And it's amazing to me that he played at the same high school as Marshawn Lattimore and Ted Ginn Jr. I mean, that kind of blows my mind. Matter of fact, I'm going to reach out and try and get Ted Ginn Sr. on the show. We need to get him on. He could talk about all these guys.
I'm sure he could.
Them all.
Yeah, I'm sure he could.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear what he has to say because he could shed some light on that program up there, which has put out a lot of NFL players over the years, in addition to these three Saints.
Well, we're talking some good special teams, but Mark Gaughan definitely probably put some worry in Saints fans because he's saying how the conditions are going to be windy and rainy, and that could cause some issues on special teams. We've seen enough issues on special teams lately to cause a little bit of panic. And when you go on the road, Jeff, how many It's certainly something that you've got to pay attention to.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The weather is going to be a factor, And one thing about Sean Payton, his attention to detail always shows in these kind of games. He will have a full plan for how to combat these elements, just like it was illustrated his plan for Green Bay, because the turf up there is always pretty shoddy, if you will. He had them going over about the certain cleats to wear. He's always on top of that stuff. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say this week about the weather, what kind of gear that they will use to combat it, and what the instructions will be. I remember them playing up there. I think it's the last time that they played up there with Peyton. He managed the game because of the wind and basically wanted the ball certain times, and he was going to be more aggressive when the wind's at their backs offensively than when it's in their face. He's not going to throw as much. I mean, he does all these things in the strategy of the game to adjust to the actual weather elements.
That was in 2009, and that game was a grinded out type of game, and the Saints won 27-7, but I remember that was a big game for Pierre Thomas. They kept him on the ground. They tried to be as conservative as they could just because of the elements, and that was in September when they played that game. So imagine how he's going to try to map this thing out. And like I asked Mark Gahn from the Buffalo News, you're mapping it out against a guy who has mapped out a defense against you for years, because Sean McDermott, if people don't remember, former Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator. So both guys are going to be familiar with each other.
Yeah, McDermott knows the Saints offense up and down. And I thought it was a good point by Mark Gahn. We could be looking at the two best rookie corners in the league. That'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely, with Marshawn Lattimore and Tre'Davious White. So look, hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. Got a lot coming at you in hour number 2. We'll talk Pelicans in the first half hour, starting with Will Guillory from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune.
30.
And then we will hear from Alvin Gentry, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis after last night's win in Indiana. Pelicans 6-5. And then last half hour of the show, Saints mid-season awards. You can go check out mine at NOLA.com right now, and then you can hear from Jeff, and we will debate and battle and probably throw things at each other, because that's how we do it here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you.
Ball head girl.
He's good. Ball head girl.
I don't know. I looked over.
It's awesome.
Like my peripheral vision was like, what's going on over there?
Texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you.
Where are you going?
Allison, why?
Wonder where you going?
Texting and driving makes people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org.
Nope,
brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
O'Reilly. When it comes to vehicle safety, having poor visibility is a risk not worth taking. Get set for this fall's weather by visiting your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store during the See Better, Drive Safer sale. You'll find deals on name brand headlights, wiper blades, and everything you need to see better and drive safer. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280. Fox Sports trending now.
The 3 UCLA basketball players arrested in China on shoplifting charges have been released on bail. This according to Yahoo Sports. The trio remain confined to their hotel in Hangzhou until the legal process is over. It appears doubtful they will return with the Bruins when they return to the U.S. following Saturday's game with Georgia Tech. Other college basketball news: Auburn has fired associate head basketball coach Chuck Person, who was indicted on federal bribery, conspiracy, and fraud charges. Person allegedly received $91,500 in bribes to steer players.
Oh yeah, I saw a lot of people.
Hey, we're getting Will right out the gate.
It was good.
Back six.
Hey, we getting Will right out the gate.
He had knee surgery Tuesday.
Yeah, and that kind of
team has filled his roster.
Yeah. Hey, we getting Will.
Quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, who's coming back from a torn ACL.
That's what the title of the program is. No,
tax
I mean, I
cut
think they
or
were
tax hike.
But the way they say, wouldn't the title of the program something like
Republican tax bill says it would only be a tax cut for the majority of taxpayers for the first few years. At the end of 10 years, it would actually be a tax increase for about 20%, and the tax savings for the majority would be less than $100. The Joint Committee on Taxation says in the bill's first year, 60% of taxpayers would pay lower taxes. But in 2022, some of those tax breaks start expiring, and by 2027, they would essentially dry up for all but a majority of $1 million plus households, and even a third of them would have higher taxes. A warning about a new Netflix email scam. Sharon Reed reports.
The emails that began surfacing Friday look like they're from Netflix.
I just said, you know what, I got to get
relatively well designed. They urge the users to update their billing information or risk having their Netflix membership suspended. The email provides a link that takes subscribers to a fake website. Once there, the streaming services customers are asked to log in and provide information.
To check your Netflix account, just type the address directly into your browser.
Yeah, like what the hell are they even...
What, you're not out Christmas shopping yet?
4% of people are planning to shop before Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and 25%
yeah, I'm like, Joni, this Rolling Stone thing was good, and I'm like, she likes music, and I'm like, you like this? No, I don't have time for that.
Sarah Skirball with RetailMeNot.com.
She's like, at some point I'll watch
Secretary Wilbur Ross is off Forbes magazine's billionaires list. Forbes says Ross is really only worth $700 million, not $3.7 billion as he claimed. In a new scathing analysis, Forbes says Ross flat out lied when he told the magazine he had billions stashed away in a private trust. It says after digging, it has concluded that that money never existed, that it was just the latest in, quote, an apparent sequence of fibs, exaggerations, omissions, fabrications, and whoppers that Ross has told Forbes since 2004 to both pad his ego and gain business opportunities. Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
Everyone does it. In the living room, the garage, at the kitchen table. Everyone you know. Your kid's teacher, the neighbor, the coffee guy. Hey, you're doing it right now. I'm talking about listening to radio. Radio is huge. And radio ads like this connect with 93% of Americans a week. That's bigger than TV, Facebook, and Google. So if you're a marketer, with radio, you reach more of who you want. More boomers, more Gen Xers, even more millennials. So get to iHeartMedia.com for the one place everyone is. AM, FM radio.
That's not
Come
our
on,
budget.
everyone's doing it.
She doesn't know.
Waymo will start schlepping around people in minivans without anyone behind the wheel. The autonomous car unit of Google parent company Alphabet is testing out their vehicles without safety drivers in a limited region of Phoenix with volunteer passengers. The vans have a graphical interface.
Oh, Dave, we're calling Will here in a
riders
minute.
watch the driverless course and buttons to call customer service or pull the car over. Waymo will be the first company to test out fully driverless cars on public roads. The National Institute of Health is passing out 10,000 Fitbits. The initiative...
Hey, are we calling Will now?
Researchers will use lifestyle data to better understand how people's genes and environment influence overall health. 8,000 people have already volunteered, but you need to be invited to volunteer. Apple will test out Apple Pay
you gotta
Cash.
drop the scores when they play.
Payments
that's a good idea.
receive cash inside the Messages app on iPhones. To be a part of the
like
test,
Louisville played
you
an
have to have a
exhibition
device
last
running
night.
the iOS 2
I'm just saying,
system.
starting
Tech
up.
Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
All right, 1 minute.
Okay.
Are you taking Viagra for AD? Well, now you can get sildenafil, the active ingredient in Viagra, in generic 20 milligrams for $2 per tablet. That's a savings of $40 per dose. Marley Drug is a North Carolina pharmacy delivering generic sildenafil to your door. For
all right, we got Gil Willery.
MarleyGenerics.com. Or call us at 800
Graf's going to Jamaica for some like Tulane shootout.
What?
Yeah.
800-853-63.
Jeez.
And I think Sean Kelly's calling the Tulane football game when he Graf's in.
It's a Friday.
And donors are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you.
St. Jude Children's
10 seconds.
Learn more at stjude.org.
Grand in your hand? Sounds good, doesn't it? The next keyword is minutes away on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2. If you missed any of hour number 1, had Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Also had some Pelicans chatter, college football chatter, Saints chatter, so he kind of ran the gamut of things. But you can check it out at sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube after the show. And joining us here on his Wobble Wobble Wednesday regular appearance, and of course it's always perfect timing, for one, Will Guillory, NOLA.com, and Times-Picayune, and Will, our buddy Gene Gilliott, our Stats McGee, of course he does a lot of the sports print edition stuff here for the Times-Picayune, dropped quite an interesting tidbit as far as the Saints and the Pelicans. This is the first time together they've been above 500 since December 13th, 2013, Will. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And yet, look, I was asking and kind of bouncing back off Jeff, look, the fact that the Pelicans are 6-5 after 11 games, I think most reasonable Pelicans fan has to be happy with this result.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering the fact that they've got about 5 or 6 guys on the injury report right now, and you know, there's one of them, 2 of them are starters. You got to think, you know, that type of thing is kind of submarine this team in Alvin Gentry's first 2 years. But now they're kind of galvanized around their 2 big guys, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, and they're just finding ways to win these games on the road, where in the past they would kind of just get overwhelmed and everything would kind of be on AD's shoulders. But now, you know, having a star next to him that can kind of, you know, carry the team 1 quarter or 2 quarters where the game doesn't entirely fall on AD's shoulders, I think that's made a big difference. And they're finding ways to win games, man. I don't know what's going on, but they're above 500, and everybody over there on Airline Drive is certainly happy.
Will, I tell you, last night's game I thought was pretty eye-opening in the fact that the Pacers scored 75 in the first half, but then the second half, the Pelicans were like a completely different team defensively. They really shut down Indiana. Most of the shots were challenged. They were forcing the Pacers to take the shots, I think, that Alvin Gentry and Darren Erman wanted them to take. And all of a sudden it flipped. In the whole second half, the Pacers scored 37, which is what they were scoring in each of the first 2 quarters alone. And I thought that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I think that when you talk to the guys on the team and the people around the team, the number one thing that everybody's really excited about what they've shown so far is just the fact that they've been so resilient, and even when they haven't played as well, or when they're not shooting well, or when, you know, DeMarcus isn't coming out with a ton of energy, they still find a way to stay in these games. They still find a way to, you know, close the games out strong in the fourth quarter, and that's something that you have to be excited about, knowing that maybe that can be the identity of this team. I mean, they've been searching for so long to figure out what the identity is going to be, how they're going to build a team around Anthony Davis. And I think you're starting to see this thing come together as, hey, maybe we're going to be that scrappy team, that team that just claws our ways to wins no matter what, and we're just going to fight and scratch and, you know, just have enough from Anthony and DeMarcus to kind of beat these teams. And that's going to be huge for them, considering that even when Rondo comes back, even when Solomon Hill comes back, they're probably not going to be one of the top 5, top 7 offenses in the league. So they're going to just have to figure out ways to kind of out-tough teams, beat them up in the paint, and just do enough to win games where Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins can kind of just be the 2 best guys on the court, and that'll be enough to get them over the top.
Will Guillory, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, covers the Pelicans for us, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. And Will, what's kind of been the way you've seen these things, at least in the road trip? How do you feel? What's been maybe a constant that we've seen that's kind of helped them get through this road trip? And look, you could talk about who they're beating, but they're winning games they're supposed to win. And what's maybe been the constant that you've seen, maybe 1 or 2 things that you've seen in these road games?
Well, I mean, we talked about it a little bit already, but just the dominance of AD and DeMarcus. And, you know, everybody talked about when the trade first went down, you know, how can you make these 2 big guys work together, two guys that were up around 30% usage rate last year. You're going to have them on the same team. How is that going to work? Are there going to be enough shots to go around? Are they going to be clogging up the paint? But these guys are putting up incredible numbers. I mean, both of them were over 30 last night. Second time this year, they've both had 30 and 10 in the same game. And it's showing that, you know, they've kind of figured out this chemistry thing. They're figuring out where to get shots. And most importantly, I think the ball's in DeMarcus Cousins' hands a lot, but Anthony Davis is still finding a way to get his shots, which I think was the most important thing for this team. I think there wasn't any doubt that the ball was going to be in DeMarcus Cousins' hands, because that's when he's at his best, when he can kind of play that point boogie role. but you still had to find a way to utilize the talents of Anthony Davis, just because, I mean, it's no secret he's one of the best guys in the league, and he needs his shots. And if he's shooting the ball, good things are probably happening. So the fact that both of those guys are playing efficiently, they're both scoring, they're both distributing, I think that's huge for this team, and it's just a matter of figuring out where the other points are going to come from. And I think another part of that is the past 3 games having Darius Miller step up the way he has and starting to hit shots from the perimeter. I think that's opened up things a lot, and it's kind of giving them a boost off the bench where it's not so much on the starters to carry the team the way it has been, through the first 5 or 6 games of the year.
Yeah, Will, you stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to bring up Darius Miller's contributions. He's been a revelation on this road trip, and giving them – look, he's doing exactly what I think they signed him to do, hit those open threes when everybody's focusing their defense on the 2 bigs or one of the bigs. He's the guy that's knocking down those critical threes, and he's like a perfect complement to what they need, I think, on that second team unit, and also kind of a glue guy. Every once in a while he gets in there and gets a key rebound. He plays solid defense, and he's been a little bit of a find for the Pelicans this when they brought him on. I don't think people had those expectations for him during this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things people circled about this roster going into the season was the fact that the lack of shooting you had around AD and DeMarcus, and then you had to find guys that can knock down those open threes when teams kind of double those 2 big guys in the paint. And I think the way Darius Miller's knocking down shots, he's shooting them with a lot of confidence. I think that's huge for the offense as a whole. Just to even when he's not making shots, because he's not going to continue shooting around 55% the way he has the past 3 games. But just having a guy that's willing to just pull the trigger when he's open, I think it's just huge overall, just to keep defenses honest, and just so Anthony Davis, when Davis and Cousins are in the post, they're not reluctant to kind of kick out to those guys when they see the double team coming. They're not forcing things. They're saying, hey, Darius is willing to take the shot, so we're going to give it to him, and we're going to trust him. And so far, he's paying off that trust, and that's been huge these past few games, especially when he's been hitting the shots. It's not just the fact he's hitting shots. He's hitting them in big moments in the game when they need him, when they need those points to get him back in the game or put him up. And that's really been a big part of just building his overall confidence after the way he kind of started off the year. So I think that's one of the biggest things, along with AD and DeMarcus' play so far.
Will, am I giving Drew Holiday too much of a hard time?
Yes. He's killing him. He kills him almost as much as I kill Boogie. We go back and forth between who we're
Boogie at least scores. What does Drew do? Collects a paycheck.
It's really confusing. I think Drew's got to be one of the guys that it's so hard to figure out what's going on with him, because what I often say is just if you just put Drew on a court, in the practice court, and you ask him to just do a bunch of different drills, I think the guy can do pretty much anything you can ask. He can score mid-range, he can shoot threes, he can score in the paint, he can play defense, he can guard multiple positions, he can handle the ball. I think he's capable of doing just about everything, but I think it's, for whatever reason, he's just struggling to figure out what this team needs from him. And I think, even more important, I think he's just struggling to find his shot right now. I think he's missed 16 consecutive threes over the past 5 games.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Like in the mid-20s as far as his percentages go. And I think when you're playing with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, we talked about this with Darius Miller, you got to have guys that are willing to knock down those shots from the perimeter. And while Drew's around like 35, 36% for his career, he's not an elite three-point shooter. He certainly has the capabilities of knocking down open shots if they're available to him. So I think, as of right now, he just got to keep shooting and keep playing with confidence. But, I mean, you can't blame people like Larry who just say, this guy's got a huge contract and he's not really contributing the way he should be. And I think it's hard to see this team really getting where they want to get to without him at least stepping up and being the 3rd or 4th best guy on this team. Wait, because they need somebody else other than the 2 big guys.
Will, did you say he's missed 16 consecutive threes? Is that what you said?
Yes, he's 0 for 16 over the past 5 games.
Larry,
I don't want to hear anything about Boogie shooting threes. He at least makes some. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
0 for 6. I had no idea. That's an incredible stat.
That's bad.
I knew he was not playing well. I didn't know it was that poor.
He can do a hook shot and make one randomly. I mean, my gosh, that's not good. Will
0 for 16 from 3-pointers. So I mean,
you can make I've seen you make more than Drew has in the last 5 games on your Twitter feed. Come on, man.
Hey, that's a fact. That is a fact right there. That is not fake news.
Well, wait,
but I just think they have to continue getting him shots. They have to figure out a way to get him going. I don't know what it'll take. It's really confusing. I wish, there was some kind of way we could get him to open up and just tell us what's going on in his head. Because I think when you watch him, you can see when he catches the ball that he's a little hesitant. Sometimes he's looking around. Sometimes he'll have an open shot and he'll just jab stuff and then pull it up. I don't know what the issue is, but he has to play better. There's no way that this team can get to where they want to get to unless he's putting up at least 15, 16 a night. They're going to need that from him.
I think you're spot on, and I wonder if he is struggling in the transition of having the two bigs out there, because they do so much, as you call them, with the point boogie, where Cousins is at the top of the key and initiating the offense. Sometimes I think that's where Drew Holiday's used to playing. That's what he did for so long, running this team. And I think it's just an adjustment period for him right now. Not only is he adjusting to playing off the ball, but he's adjusting to maybe where he's at on the court. And I've seen that hesitation as well from Holiday. You make a good point, Will. They've got to have Holiday at least contributing at a certain level for this team to make a playoff run and to be able to compete with the elite teams in the West. Because, look, they've always played well against the Eastern Conference, even in these past few years when they've been a sub-500 team, because the East is so weak. But once they get into the meat of their schedule against the Western Conference rivals, they've got to have Holiday producing, or else I think they're going to be nothing more than a 500 team.
Yeah, and I think I agree with your point about him not necessarily having to figure out where to get his shots and how to adjust playing with DeMarcus. But I think things are only going to get worse once Rondo comes back, because then the ball's going to be in his hands less. Rondo's going to be the guy at the top of the key more often. So Drew's going to have to figure it out, and I think it'll probably be another adjustment period for him once Rondo comes back. But I think it's going to help a lot just to have another guy just to get him shots. I think one of the better parts about this run that people aren't talking about is that they're doing it without Rondo, because if you talk to these guys before the season, they all were stressing how important Rondo was going to be for this team and how he was going to change a lot for them, just to bring in that grown-up with the ball, I like to say, just to give the ball to a grown-up and just have him make the decisions and not, mess around with some of these turnovers or getting in these situations where you're going 4 or 5 minutes without a basket the way they have at times this season. Just having that guy on the court that's going to look for Drew to get him some easy shots, I think is going to help a lot. But he's going to have to adjust and figure out how to his new life is a guy that's going to be playing on the wing and without the ball in his hands, and it's something he hasn't done a lot in his career. But going forward, it's something that he's going to have to do. There's not much that's going to change on this team that's going to result in him not having the ball. Result in him having the ball. So he's just going to have to figure out how to be efficient and be effective in this new role, because this is going to be life for him, at least for the rest of this season.
Will Guillory, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, covers the Pelicans for us. Great insight on a Wobble Wobble Wednesday. I hope your haircut went well. You feared that it would take more than 2.5 hours and you might miss this radio spot, so I'm glad your haircut went okay. Good for you.
Yes, I barely beat the buzzer. My barber is as slow as ever, but hey, I couldn't miss Wobble Wobble Wednesday, my favorite day of the week, so I had to come through and show y'all some love.
Absolutely, and just show that Drew Holiday is, man,
stay off Drew's back. Come on.
0 for 16. This is a 5-game span. He hasn't made a three-pointer.
Maybe he's putting pressure on himself because of the huge deal. That happens. Trying to live up to the expectations of that big contract.
Well, maybe he shouldn't have gotten.
I have a strange feeling that if Drew went to Kentucky, just may feel different there.
Exactly.
Wait a second here.
Exactly.
I'm the biggest AD fan in the town.
On that note, Will Guillory just slams the door shut on this interview. Hey, Will, appreciate it as always, my friend. All right, when we get back here,
thank you guys.
You got it, Will. When we get back here on the show, we'll hear from Alvin Gentry, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis on the 117-112 win, and then about 10 or 12 minutes, Saints mid-season award time. Jeff's ready. He's got all his picks in. And we will go through all of that. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app for Dunc and Holder. Let's see Nuclear Boy.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword BANG to 200-200. You'll get a
just
text
come see his
entry plus iHeartRadio info.
Just
standard data and message rates apply. That's BANG to 200-200.
Clay
Travis. I'm a First Amendment absolutist.
Mornings 5 to 8.
I open up phone lines and let people just tee off on me and say I'm racist. Why do I do that? Because one, I know I'm not racist. And two, I think that allowing more voices to talk is always better than less.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This week on Big Easy Deals, get a family 4-pack to the Audubon Aquarium of the Americas. At the aquarium, penguins, stingrays, sharks, and other deep-sea creatures await your visit. Get your family 4-pack for only $48 at foxsportsam1280.com. Keyword deals.
Thousands of people signing an online petition calling for comic actor Kevin James to replace Kevin Spacey on House of Cards. Netflix has dropped Spacey from his starring role in a growing scandal about his alleged sexual harassment of other actors. A man in the Netherlands launching a Change.org petition putting up the King of Queens star to take over as two-time Oscar winner Spacey's ruthless Frank Underwood character.
You should see the things we do, baby.
The ACLU taking issue with Taylor Swift, the group's Northern California office blasting the pop star's threat to sue a blogger for painting Swift as an icon to the alt-right and white nationalists, accusing her of trying to suppress protected speech. A lawyer for Swift called the claims baseless and said the singer rejects white supremacy. Ozzy Osbourne hitting the road for a farewell tour. The 68-year-old singer's last tour is set to begin next year and end in 2020. Osbourne in a statement says he may still play shows here and there once it's all over.
All right, minute and a half.
Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are receiving a hefty profit after selling their Bel Air mansion. TMZ saying the couple sold the property for nearly $18 million after buying it for only $9 million in 2013. The sale reportedly the most expensive in the Bel Air Crest community. That's entertainment. Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio.
If you're a pro, you don't buy a little of this or that. You buy a lot of this or that. And at the Home Depot, you save even more. Save up to 15% in bulk discounts on select pro-grade products from top brands like 3M, Loctite, and Liquid Nails. As a pro, you work hard for your money. You shouldn't have to work hard to save it.
It is incredible.
Up to 15% in bulk discounts on select pro-grade products. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. See store for details.
You just sit in front of the TV.
Howdy, folks. Colonel Sanders from KFC here with some real news.
Starting at 11 o'clock.
My delicious, world-famous original recipe fried chicken is available at a KFC near you. Has been and will be until the end of time. No matter what's happening in the world, you can trust my original recipe chicken is always made with 11 herbs and spices. Many unnamed. It's delicious. Get it in a KFC $10 chicken share and enjoy it with a friend. KFC, it's still finger-licking good.
Oh, that's right.
Limited time offer for participating KFCs. Prices may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show, talking Pelicans. 6-5. Long time since they've been above 500, and I am so glad I am Team Will Guillory today. Just proving my point that I am not being too hard on Drew Holiday. I'm just not.
What's up, Will? 0 for 16. That's pretty. That's hard to deny that stat.
That is through the last 5 games. He was 0 for 1 against Orlando, 0 for 5 against Minnesota, 0 for 4 twice at Dallas and at Chicago, and 0 for 2 last night. And yet the Pelicans still 117-112 winners over the Indiana Pacers. Got some audio want to play coming from Alvin Gentry, from Anthony Davis, and from Boogie Cousins. And look, obviously they got some things they could be happy about, and you would expect that coming from that win. So let me see. Why don't we go start off with Alvin Gentry? Look, the Pelicans gave up 75 points in the first half. That's borderline unheard of. And then the fact that they basically cut that in half, they were able to get back into the game. Let's hear Alvin Gentry's thoughts on the two different halves.
It was, I thought we played well offensively the first half. We just they didn't fill us at all defensively. I thought we were letting them run around and taking pump fakes and leaving open shooters and just not being locked in. The second half, I thought we started to the second half really being locked in, not just offensively but defensively as well. You know, if you look at the tale of two halves, you know, we gave up 19 and 18, you know, for 37 points the second half, and they shot 30%, and you know, we gave up 75 points the first half. Also, we took away some of the turnovers that we had. You know, we had 2 turnovers the entire second half, and one of them came, you know, right at the end of the game. So I thought we did a good job of protecting the ball, and then we had good ball movement, and obviously we feel like we have an advantage every night on the inside with AD and DeMarcus, and I thought they did a great job of getting position, and we did a great job of getting them the ball.
Let's hear what Anthony Davis had to say about the first half versus the second half on defense last night.
We just came out strong, you know, with a lot of defensive pressure, defensive tenacity, and when we do that, you know, it's tough for teams to try to score. So we just got to try to do that, you know, for 48 minutes, you know, and not 24. So, you know, we're happy that we got this win. We did what we had to do to get this win in the second half, but if we want to be a good team, you know, we got to be able to do it for the whole 48.
Let's hear what DeMarcus Cousins had to say on the team's second half play.
We did a better job defensively. We slowed down the transition scoring a lot more than we did in the first half. And, you know, the biggest thing that was hurting us in the first half were our turnovers, and, you know, they capitalized on those turnovers. So I think we did a better job of, you know, taking care of the ball and, you know, not having silly turnovers and giving them opportunities to score.
And let's hear what Alvin Gentry had to say about the team's ability to turn around midstream this season in plenty of these games where they've won.
Well, I just think we're playing hard, you know, and that's what we got to establish. We got to establish that, you know, we're going to be a hard-playing team, do that consistently. Also, we got to be in a situation where we understand that when we do get down, we just got to be solid in what we do and work our way back. That it's not going to happen in, you know, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, but it's a process where you just got to work yourself, you know, back. And I thought we did a great job of that also.
And Jeff, I feel like at times you could see the Pelicans just kind of let down, and at least in past games when they've lost, and they've never been able to kind of pull themselves off the mat and gain energy and play defense. And I know the 75 points is crazy, but the fact that they cut that in half, to me, I think is a sign that they feel like that they can do this on a more regular basis and not just say, oh, well, we're just going to chalk this one up as a loss and just move on. I think they understand that against inferior opponents, they've got to be able to turn on a switch if they don't have it from the start or there's a lull at some point.
That might be the most impressive thing about last night's win was it would have been easy to chalk this one up to the other team's on fire. We've won 2 in a row on the road. This just isn't our night. And instead, they buckled down and played defense, and I think it was no better example of the effort that was given than the last 2 sequences there on missed free throws by Drew Holiday. Those are easy kind of plays to just dismiss that he's going to make it or you're going to get boxed out. In both plays, the 2 biggest stars in the lineup, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, get offensive rebounds on missed free throws and keep possession of the ball in a 1-possession game. Those were critical plays, and it would have been easy for those guys just to check out on a missed free throw, and they didn't, and that was the difference in the game.
And it does help that you have Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, who are, let's see, Davis 14 of 18, both guys scoring 30-plus, 10 boards. Let's hear what Alvin Gentry had to say on just
wait.
the well, I guess we'll wait a second.
Go to the caller.
All right, let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Al in New Orleans. Al, thanks for calling Duncan Holder. What you got, Al?
Be sure to save all those quotes and everything from Alvin Gentry. 7 years from now, it'll be the same quotes.
Well, if they're winning games, that wouldn't be bad. If they're the same quotes, hey, then there you go.
Shoot. You've heard him say that. This is the key. You got to pull yourself up on the mat. You've heard him say that?
Well, sometimes I will say this. Sometimes it's an 82-game season. You're going to be repetitive sometimes if you're a head coach. So don't get too harsh on Alvin Gentry if you kind of hear some of the same things sometimes. I mean, it's just part of doing the media job and trying to come up with different things to say.
He's been fired from 5 head jobs. We got him. One person fired from more jobs is Cam Cameron at LSU.
So I guess you're not sold on Alvin Gentry right now. That's my small spidey sense journalistic instincts that you're not in on Alvin Gentry right now.
No.
Got Mike and Belchase.
We expected the same kind of offense as the Nuggets have, and of course it doesn't pan out that way. Yes. So they hire a special offensive coach, which is what he was supposed to do. And Drew Holiday, he's stealing money. Every night he steals money. Steals money when you play him. It was a bad decision to sign him for that much money.
All right, hey, Al, appreciate the phone call. Look, hey, Al's not optimistic like me. He's not optimistic McGee today.
Well, look, Al, I would say this, and I'm not going to be defending the organization because they've made a lot of mistakes over the years, but this was not the lineup that they expected to have. They expected to have Rajon Rondo and Solo Hill. So you have to give them a little bit of adjustment time with these backups playing in different roles than they anticipated. Let's see how this plays out once Rondo gets back. They're not going to get Hill back until maybe the end of the year, if at all. But when Rondo gets in there, I'll really be interested to see what Will Guillory talked about earlier, how they adjust, because I think there's going to be another adjustment period once he gets back. But the talent, I think, is significantly upgraded now, just with DeMarcus Cousins alone in the lineup. Now they got to figure out how they can make it work and win games. This isn't like fantasy basketball. You look at the numbers sometimes, and they're astronomical right now for Cousins and Davis, but that might not be conducive to what's best for this Pelicans team to actually win in the long run. They're going to need less of Cousins and Davis and more of Rondo when he gets there, and much more of Drew Holiday right now for them to be successful down the road in the playoffs.
Let's take one more phone caller, and we will hit a break here on the show. Let's go to Dave. Where are we at? Mike in Belchase. Mike, thanks for calling Duncan Holder. What you got, bud?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Good.
Yeah, two things. I was just going to say I was with Al at halftime in the Sacramento game. When I turned that thing off at halftime, and I said, Gentry's gone. And then they came back and won that game, and have done pretty well since. But that game last night, you know, conventional wisdom is you give up 70-something points in the first half, you're playing crummy defense. But those guys were just hot, man. They were smoking. They couldn't miss. And I was happy to be down by only 12 at the first half. And I was hoping the locker room would cool them off and bring them down to earth, which it did.
I agree. They were hitting some tough shots, but I think to Alvin Gentry's point, Mike, they were getting to the rim much too easily in the first half, and that's on Davis and Cousins. I mean, you got two of the better big men in the league. They got to protect the rim better, and they were falling for a lot of pump fakes, and it was leaving some open shots. And these NBA guys, I don't care who you are, these guys, if you leave them open for the most part, they're going to knock down shots. Even 6'9" power forwards can hit. It's amazing how well people shoot at that level. So you just got to challenge and contest better and have better runouts. And the second half was a completely different story. I mean, they weren't getting anything easy, and when they were trying to go inside, they were taking challenge layups. And when Anthony Davis is in there, I mean, he's one of the best shot blockers in the game, and he contested a number of shots inside. So I thought the defensive intensity was much better, but I agree with you also. At one point, you looked up and they were only down by like 10, and they were shooting almost 60-something% from the field. That's a good sign. The game wasn't out of reach at that point.
Hey, Mike, appreciate the phone call. Why don't we take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, we've been teasing it. Let's get to it. Saints mid-season awards. I'm wondering how much we differ in the categories. We're different. We got some zany categories, but some legitimate categories, and we will kind of go through those because I got ambitious when I wrote the column.
Yeah, it took me a little while to put
a bunch of categories together. So I had fun with some of them, and some are not going to be so fun for a certain few players and former players since Adrian Peterson's gone. And he was going to make my list in something.
Oh yeah,
something positive, of course. No thanks. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Hey, we got the Cajun Goat in Avondale.
Well, all right. We might not get to
but no,
him.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, because we only got 2 segments left, and I know it's going to take a while to
get through
that.
Yeah, so we might.
The Cajun Goat, man. Let's go to that. Come on, what's that guy?
All right, we'll go to the Cajun Goat real quick.
I'm curious.
We've had him on before.
Oh, we have?
Yeah. Only
really?
degrees, and it looks
and
like
then,
by Friday and Saturday
I guess
morning,
what, the computer fried or something?
40s on the north.
Yeah, it locked up.
Because the soundbite, she's like, "Oh, stop!" Because I had like 4 more.
Oh yeah, he was on the line.
Oh well, so all right, don't worry.
Like I was looking at the computer, all of a sudden, like the mouse wasn't moving, and the clock just stopped. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
It does that every now and again.
Personally, chosen different topics.
Oil change. They change your oil.
Personally, just so we'll be different on our.
Did you just start a conversation and not let us know?
Changing the rules.
Rebooted it.
Light, stop by O'Reilly.
You got to put a segue in there, Jeff.
It's all optimism right now, Tim.
Silverstar Ultra headlights and get a $15 O'Reilly gift card after
riding
mail-in
away.
rebate. See farther and more
You
clearly
hear the
with
stat?
Silverstar headlights at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Yeah.
Better
We're
parts.
trying to get
It's not long enough. That's the problem.
Apply. See
I'm gonna shave it. It's gonna be gone. There's no
We're trying to get a barber or salon to sponsor it.
There's no question. I will shave my head.
Yeah, I'm going to be calling around this week.
Aiden Gill might
As an endless flow of energy.
Are you
Chills ready?
Chills on it's Carrollton, right?
Does he sell whiskey when I look at my hair and I'm like, oh, my hair's going?
Georgia remains atop this week's college football playoff rankings. The Dogs, followed by Bama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, just outside the top. Oklahoma at number 5, TCU at number 6. Miami, Wisconsin, Washington, Auburn round out the top 10. The Phoenix Suns disgruntled point guard Eric Bledsoe to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Suns receive center Greg Monroe and a pair of protected draft picks.
Your friend. You got on me. Tim, you're the problem.
You got on me. Awards. Rockies, Diamondbacks, Twins, Angels, and Royals all had 2 players that take home a
I don't know what that means.
A sad day across the sport. Former Blue Jay Philly ace pitcher Roy Halladay killed in a small light sport aircraft crash off the St. Petersburg, Florida coast yesterday.
So you made up your own categories?
No, the same categories, different answers. Just on purpose.
Now YouTube sees that you're a fraud.
No, I'm not a fraud. I'm just picking different ones. I mean, one of them we got to be the same.
2-time Cy Young Award winner.
I would.
Drew Brees has to be the MVP. I mean, I'm not going to.
Not according to Mike Triplett.
Really?
He said Cam
If you're
Jordan.
a pro, you don't buy.
All right, 30 seconds.
All right.
What's he
You
know?
buy a lot of this or that.
Exactly.
And at
Mike
the Home
Triplett's
Depot,
lame. You can tell him I said
save
so.
even more. Save up to 15%.
All right, and we will go to Cajun Goat.
Pro-grade products from top brands like 3M, Loctite, and Liquid Nails.
We got 2
As a pro,
Yeah,
you
we
work
got time.
hard for your money. You shouldn't have to work hard
As long
to
as he
save.
doesn't
I'm just gonna go
ramble
in.
like John Reed.
15%
I'm just gonna
in
go
bulk
in a
discounts
row.
on select pro-grade products.
I gotta look up my
Only
quotes.
at the Home Depot. More saving.
You didn't have to. Like, I just
That was a
like,
tough one.
I just thought of that like on the top of my head. I was like, those are fun quotes. Well, I remember those quotes because I got them. Like that's why I remember them. That's why I remember them.
Going deep on the teams you care about. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
There's only one caller that we would interrupt the start of our Saints mid-season awards, and it's for the Cajun Goat. Cajun Goat, are you sure you're not actually? Are you sure you're not actually Sean Payton? Because whenever he gets an answer, he'll go goat mode and start saying things like "ah," and then we'll answer it. So Cajun Goat, I hope you're not Sean Payton. All right.
No, I was calling about the Pelicans, man. This is the thing that I get about these Pelicans is that they're winning with just talent right now. There is no coaching on that team whatsoever. If they had a coach, I think they would have a way better record. I have a little bone to pick there with Mr. Duncan. You say that these NBA players can hit an open shot anywhere. You must not watch a lot of the Pelicans because they're wide open, and all I hear is boing, yoing, yoing, yoing coming off the back of those rims whenever they shoot. But I really believe that the talent will take them as far as they can go, and as many minutes as Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins is playing in the beginning of the season, let's see how that's going to end up at the end of the season, man. They're putting a lot of wear and tear on 2 big guys, and let's see what happens. I'm not overly excited about them being over 500 when they were a playoff team before Gentry took them over. Yeah, I'll hang up and listen to you guys.
All right, Cajun Goat, appreciate it.
Good points all the way around.
I'm optimistic. They're actually one game above 500. I can't remember the last time that's happened. So I'm in.
And we need perspective here. They're over 500, and last night was the first time they've beaten somebody with a winning record. Or they
didn't have a winning record, right?
All right, look, they've got a big game coming up against Toronto. Then they come back home against the Clippers.
Atlanta as well.
Atlanta's not very good this year, but those two, I'm just saying, those two games, we'll get a better feel for them. And Toronto's no great shakes as well. Well, I want to judge them.
You're just poo-pooing on everything.
I just want to judge them against the teams that they're going to be competing against in the Western Conference, and they really haven't fared that well against those teams so far. Portland, loss. Memphis, loss. Golden State, loss. It's just the reality of the situation.
They lost to the Timberwolves too.
T-Wolves, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So let's see before we jump on completely on their bandwagon. But I am encouraged by their ability to come back on the road in some of these games. Mike mentioned earlier they were down big at Sacramento. Now Sacramento's awful, but they were down big. And the same thing last night, down big and came back on the road. That's not easy to do, and I don't think this team would have done that in the past.
No, I don't think so either. So, all right. Saints mid-season awards. You can go check out all of mine on NOLA.com right now. We've got a lot of fun awards, some, of course, not so fun awards for some guys, but we're going to start just from the top of the list so you can kind of follow along with me. And then Jeff, I'm going hidden blind. I have no idea who Jeff's taken in some of these. So we will go just from the top. I have the first award is the Most Outstanding Offensive Player Award. I have gone with Alvin Kamara. I kind of tossed and turned a little bit. Like, of course, you still got Michael Thomas. You've still got Mark Ingram, who, despite the fumbles in the Bears game, look, I still think it's something that he deserves recognition. Drew Brees, of course, always deserves recognition, but I think Alvin Kamara, he's been the most outstanding offensive player.
It's got to be Drew Brees. Any team that has Drew Brees, he's the one that makes it all go. So to me, it's a no-brainer, Drew Brees. But
it's not a no-brainer because it's Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara has added an element, though, that this team's been missing and searching for since they misguidedly traded away Darren Sproles, 3 or 4 years ago, and went for the C.J. Spiller replacement that did not work, and then they tried Travares Cadet. They've got the best. I think he's like a hybrid of Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush. He's more explosive than Pierre was, but he's got the running skills and vision that Pierre had that Reggie lacked.
I agree. Yeah, he can hit the hole, and yet he can kind of do it all. So, look, hey. All right, so I'm curious to see where you go in a different direction. All right, Most Outstanding Defensive Player. A couple guys you could certainly put in that category. I'd say Kenny Vaccaro. He's rebounded and had a very good season. You could certainly put Marshawn Lattimore in that category, but I'm going Cam Jordan. Look, I said he was the best overall defensive end in the NFL. I'm not backing away from that claim. 7 sacks through the midpoint. That would mean he's on pace for 14 sacks this year. It'd be his career high. And he's been just an overriding leader on that defense, just on the field, off the field. I'm going Cam Jordan.
And it's hard to argue with Cam Jordan. We predicted he would have a big year, and he's having a big year, his best year as a pro. But I'm going to go with Marshawn Lattimore, the rookie, just because I think he has transformed the entire defense, starting in the secondary by being the lockdown corner that this franchise has lacked forever. As long as I've covered him, he's the best cornerback that this team has had, and I've covered the team now 18 years. They've not had anybody like this guy, and he's only a rookie. He's only going to get better, but it's hard to argue with. You could even, like you said, even go with Kenny Vaccaro the way he's played.
So we're 0 for 2 in matching.
Right.
Okay. Rookie of the Year. Obviously, they've had a good rookie class. The two people you'd look at would be Kamara and Lattimore, and my argument and who I picked is Marshawn Lattimore, despite the big numbers for Kamara, basically along the same lines as you say. Lattimore takes away a side of a field, and he has changed the dynamic of the defense. So I'm going Marshawn Lattimore as my Rookie of the Year.
You can't go Co. I'm going Co.
No, you can't go Co.
I'm Cohen. I'm dividing it up between Lattimore and Kamara. They've been spectacular.
You just make up your own rules.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think both those guys are deserving of league-wide honors. They're both going to make all-rookie teams. And I think Ryan Ramczyk is going to make all-rookie team honors at some point. He's been an under-the-radar guy because we don't look at the line a lot. But I thought it was interesting in Peter King's column when he mentioned actually his point about the Saints. He clearly talked to Sean Payton, had quotes from Sean Payton, and Peter had a line in there that said Ryan Ramczyk's been the Saints' best offensive lineman all season long, and that stood out to me because I thought, well, Peter hasn't been here, so where did he get that from? We all know that came from Sean Payton. There's no question that Sean told him that, either off the record or at some point during the conversation. And so that says a lot. If he's their best offensive lineman in the first half of the season, that should be recognized.
You might hear Ryan Ramczyk's name down the line in my list. I'm just saying. I'm not going to discount Ryan Ramczyk.
All right.
But, all right, best play of the year. And this might seem a little off-kilter because we've seen some highlight reel plays and some incredible plays. My play of the year is P.J. Williams' interception off Cam Newton in Week 3. Why? It's the first takeaway of the season. It was some play where he completely read it correctly, made an athletic interception, started changing the tide of that defense for the Saints, helped spur a big win at Carolina, and it's the reason, that win is the reason why the Saints are in first place in the midpoint, because Saints are 6-2, Carolina's 6-3.
That's a great selection on your part, and I think that was a huge turning point in that game and maybe vaulted this team toward the 6-game winning streak that they're on right now. And what does it say about this team, Larry, that my play of the year is also a defensive play? So we both picked defensive plays. When's the last time we've ever done that? I thought Cam Jordan's PBU interception against the Lions that kind of sealed that game, a fitting play in that game. I thought that was an incredible play and his first touchdown of his career. And also, I think you could make a case that King Crawley pick against the Dolphins was another huge momentum turning play, because if Miami scores there, they were driving down the field, maybe that game has a little bit of different outcome. But the fact that all these are defensive plays, you can even make the point of, was it Okafor and Kenny Vaccaro to start the Lions game? What a crazy game. 3 defensive touchdowns. We'll never see that again. It has never happened in the franchise's history. It won't happen again. So all defensive plays. Nothing really to speak of offensively right now.
No, maybe the Kamara play this past game was dazzling, but hey, it was still look. It is amazing that it's all defensive plays. All right, worst play of the year. I'm going back to Week 1. Stephon Diggs' 18-yard touchdown reception from Sam Bradford in Week 1. Total busted coverage, total confusion from Devontae Harris and Kenny Vaccaro. And it was a total bleep moment for most Saints fans, as in, like, here we go again. This defense is going to stink. And if Sam Bradford is shredding us, who's next? And so, obviously, that's changed. But up to this point, to me, that was the worst play of the year.
That was a pretty bad one, just because of the sheer breakdown in the play. But my vote was for the 53-yard Rob Gronkowski touchdown in Week 2, where he basically, it was a jump ball. He outfought the defender, and then like Marcus Williams totally whiffed along the sidelines. I mean, that was like a old Saints Keystone Cops play.
Very true.
You remember, like Brady just kind of threw it up for grabs. I mean, it was just craziness. Otherwise, though, we haven't seen much of that after the first 2 weeks, and so it speaks well of the defense that they haven't had those kind of really bad plays in the last 6 weeks.
All right, we'll do 2 more categories and then take a break and get through some of the rest of them. And let's go with best free agent signing. You can make an argument for a lot of players in this category. I am going here with A.J. Klein, though. A.J. Klein has been on the field every snap, just about, from what I understand. Just about every snap. Look, he doesn't come off the field as the middle linebacker, and he's calling the signals. He leads the team in tackles, but not by a large margin. But the fact that he's out there every day, wasn't hurt. Larry Warford may have gotten my response, but he's been hurt. Ted Ginn, I think, deserves some credit too. But I'm going with A.J. Klein right now.
I can't argue with Klein. I would probably have picked him, but I like Warford, and so I went with Warford. Even though he's hurt, he's solidified the line, and I think the line's been the strength of this team despite all the injuries to Zach Strief and Terron Armstead. And we don't know how significantly Armstead's hurt, but I think having Warford there for the early part of the season really helped keep that line together, and he's living up to that contract they gave him.
All right, worst free agent signing. I'm not going with Nick Fairley. I'm sorry. I'm going with Adrian Peterson. I think Nick Fairley,
hater.
He got look, he was at the right price, at the right position, just an unfortunate circumstance. You had no reason to go after Adrian Peterson. None. Zero. Nada. So he's my worst free agent signing.
Hard to argue with you there as well. I've got a little bit of a different take, and this is going to be a little surprising to you, I think. I'm going to say Chase Daniel. And the reason I say that is I just didn't feel like they needed to sign Chase Daniel. Nothing against Chase Daniel. I like Chase Daniel a lot. I felt like Luke McCown was better. And I think if this team, heaven forbid, ever loses Drew Brees, it's going to be like Green Bay.
Well, of course it would be. Yeah.
They could have upgraded.
You think Luke is going to get it done for 10
Yes, he's
games?
better. I think he's better than Chase Daniel. From what I've seen, I think he's a better backup quarterback option. I think they kind of dropped the ball in that situation. I don't know obviously Sean Payton and Drew Brees liked Chase Daniel a lot. I just didn't see anything from him in preseason. I thought he was pretty bad.
All right, let's take a break right here on the show. We got a few more categories to get to. We might need to be a little rapid fire because, look, we like to talk. Maybe
we rambled.
That's okay, but they want to hear our explanation. So come on back here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Saints Mid-Season Awards here on Dunc and Holder.
Just to see you smile and enjoy yourself, because it's cool when you cause a cozy condition and
action.
I don't know. Fresh. I was about to say, I don't even know who that was.
It sounded like Dougie Fresh.
I know who that
exactly
is.
What it was.
All right, how many more categories we got?
This is Tulane football. The Wave visit East Carolina this Saturday, November 11th. Here on
9.
your home
So we're gonna have to
Tulane football.
Rapid fire?
Yeah.
We can leave some out.
Which one do you want to leave?
We got 2 minutes left, and what I did was I put the spots in this break now, so we can go all the way up to 59.50.
All right, just scream at me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll find deals on name brand headlights.
I mean, we could leave out hilarious moment. That's just something.
Yeah, we could leave out the quotes because
yeah, we could leave out.
It's hard to do on the radio.
Okay.
And then we'll just burn through the other ones.
Okay.
Auto Parts.
Howdy, you could always strongly suggest they go read it in the paper or NOLA.com.
Oh,
Famous
David.
original.
Strongly.
Nice call.
Well, they can't read Jeff's.
Until the end of time. Nope.
God dang it, Jeff! I told you that you gotta use your penmanship. You know, work harder. It's all messy chicken scratch.
It's delicious.
My
Get it in a
penmanship is
KFC
the
$10
worst.
chicken share and enjoy it with a friend.
I know.
KFC.
Mine is too.
Finger licking good. Limited time offer. Participating KFCs. Prices may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
This is water. Can you feel this, Helen? Yes, water. Helen, it's water.
Deaf and blind, Helen Keller overcame her world of darkness. Foresight, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
The Scott Eli Jackson Foundation's Purple Purpose
so we're
Gala
leaving
honors those who have
quotes
fallen
and
victim to
funny moment.
pancreatic cancer
Correct. Okay.
and shows support for those fighting the disease today. This year's gala is Sunday, November 19th
Obviously, Tim
at
read
City
my-
Park's Parkview Terrace,
or has
with all
just heard
proceeds
about my
benefiting the Scott Eli Jackson
hair removal
Foundation
that's going to be
and its
happening
mission.
soon.
It'll be a night of great entertainment and fabulous
yeah, you gotta do it.
local
I'm like,
cuisine.
Tim, I wouldn't have said it if I wouldn't be willing to do it. So yeah, right, I'll do it. Get back out now. Brings intrigue.
Put a grand in your hand. Win $1,000 every hour. Up to 16 times a day. Weekdays. Starting at 5 a.m. When you hear the keyword, text it to 200-200. Listen all day for a chance to put a grand in your hand on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Talk to me now.
Cruising down the street.
Dunc and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Real slow with the fellas.
Second part of our Saints mid-season awards. If you want to check out more details in mine, go to NOLA.com. Right now it's up and getting some good readership and some good reaction. So, all right, we're going to fly through some of these because we've only got about 5.5 minutes left in this show, 6 minutes. So here we go. Best under-the-radar move of this season, Alex Okafor. I wasn't completely sold he'd be the DN to start, but look, 3.5 sacks, tackles per loss. He's been better than I anticipated, a la Nick Fairley last year. So Alex Okafor.
Same for me with Ted Ginn Jr. I was not anticipating the production that they've had out of him on offense, and he's turned out to be exactly what they needed to replace Brandon Cooks.
I can't argue with that one either. So biggest offensive surprise. Here's where I bring up Ryan Ramczyk, because A, you wouldn't have thought he would have been playing. B, he has been a lockdown guy on the offensive side of the football as far as up front, playing different positions. Very impressed. So biggest surprise, Ryan Ramczyk.
Yes, and I would go with him probably wholeheartedly because I think he's outplayed all expectations. I'm going with Brandon Coleman, a guy that has turned into a red zone option for Drew Brees in this offense, and he's having a fantastic season as far as being the third receiver in this group, and he seems to produce one big play a game. And I know a lot of people were down on him, but I think he's exceeded expectations as well.
I agree. He always makes a significant. He's not dropping passes. I think he's had a good year. There's no doubt. Biggest defensive surprise to me is Ken Crawley. Look, he was inactive the first 2 games, and he's come in and played very well. And they're going to test him, and he's so far lived up to the testing. So I'm going Ken Crawley.
Yeah, he's played better than anybody thought in week 3 when he got inserted in there. I'm going with Alex Okafor, a guy that I thought was just a guy, frankly, and he's been much better than that. He's been much better against the run than I expected. I thought he was going to be a situational pass rusher to play opposite Cam Jordan, but he's been an every down defender, and he's a good guy in the locker room too. I can see why they signed him.
Biggest disappointment, I'm going with Willie Snead. You thought he was going to be the number 2 receiver once they traded Brandon Cooks. Suspended, hurt, and he hasn't caught a pass at all this year. So Willie Snead's my biggest disappointment.
That's a no-brainer, and I'm going in a little bit of a different direction because this is a little bit a different way to determine disappointment. I'm disappointed in the injury to Zach Strief.
2 minutes.
Okay? I mean, this is a guy that you and I both know very well. This could very well be his last year. They're having a great year, and he's out. So I don't know if he's going to get back or not, but I hope he does because he deserves it, everything he's done for the franchise.
Biggest snafu, and I kind of got this one from you. I stole it when we were talking about it yesterday. The Delvin Breaux trade rumor / doctors firing debacle. That blew up in their face. But look, Delvin Breaux hasn't played, but still, that put egg on a bunch of people's faces.
Yeah, that was a huge snafu, and I'm actually going to say the national anthem mess. What game was that?
Someone brought that up to me.
Yeah, what game was that? I can't remember.
It was a couple
games. The Lions game, I think it was.
Yes.
Come on, let's move on from that.
All right, the hottest take that's going to burn me. We've been talking about it so much. Saints start 0-2. I say they won't win 10 games. Now I'm going to have my head shaved. It's going to be a disaster.
Yes, that is going to come back to burn you, but it's going to be glorious when we get to watch you get shaved and mulleted. And my hottest take that's going to burn me is I insisted that this team needed to draft a pass rusher, and right now it looks like I was wrong for once.
You were wrong earlier in the show. You admitted it.
I was wrong. I still think in the end that's going to come back to haunt them. I don't think the rush is quite as good as it needs to be. I wish they would have taken Tack McKinley or Taco Charlton, one of those guys at the end of the first round, but it's turned out to be fortuitous that they got Ryan Ramczyk.
All right, last category, most valuable player. Drew Brees. Come on. I don't care if it's Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara. Drew Brees is still the man. It's still his team. This team goes nowhere ever without Drew Brees. He is the most valuable player on this team.
Yes, and the stat that Mark Gaughan came up with earlier illustrates that. I picked Brees slightly over the one Louisville player on the roster, Sheldon Rankins. He edged him out.
Sheldon's had an underrated year, though. People were giving him grief leading up to the season. Well, during the early parts of the season, that guy gets double teamed all the time.
Every time.
And that's why other people thrive.
Watch him, people away from the ball. He gets double teamed almost every down.
Absolutely. So if you missed any of it, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Want to thank Will Guillory. Want to thank Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Got some great shows coming up the rest of the week, so come on back. So for Jeff Duncan, I'm Larry Holder. Josh Ennis coming up next. So don't go anywhere here on a Wobble Wobble Wednesday here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Duncan Holder.
WODT
Thanks, Dave.
FM
Thanks, Dave.
New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
All right, good job, guys.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.